Life of a music collector is never easy. The rain is coming down harder than it was, but I've got a bag full of music, so let's get back in the warm and see what I found in today's haul. Oh, it's good to be back in the warm and dry, and I've come back with some CDs, not as many as last week maybe, but some interesting stuff in there, so stick around to find out what I've got, and also a couple of LPs and a few more 7-inch singles. My town seems to be particularly good at those at the moment. So first of all, I picked up this is Best of Chicane. They had big hits, Offshore and Saltwater and things like that, kind of, you know, chilled out, trancey, EDM-y, housey sort of stuff from, you know, 20 years ago or something. Don't listen to a lot of that sort of music, but occasionally I do, and Chicane were one of those acts that I really liked. I think Chicane is a pretty good producer actually, and made some interesting sounds and interesting music, so I picked that up for £1. Next up we've got the Eurythmics. I can't even say it and it's wrong. It's Depeche Mode. It's the singles 1981 to 1985. I have a feeling this might be a duplicate. If it is, watch this space, because I've got a few duplicates that are in my collection at the moment, and I am planning on ways that I can sort of do something with the community where people that want them, I can post them out. I've got to figure all that stuff out, find a way of you know, doing that, gamifying it, making it fun, making it entertaining for people, so that it's not just the person that shouts loudest. I'll work all that out, so subscribe to the channel and I'll tell you how that happens shortly. Next up, I've got a couple of Bob Dylan albums again from the charity shops, which I'm really happy with. That's, I think, 3 or 4 I found in the last month or so. This one is Shadows in the Night. So this is a later edition of it. I think this one was printed in 2015 or something. But nevertheless, it's one I didn't have. I'm hoping that made in that period of time, this is really reflective, this new light of music. I'm going to angle it just right. But yeah, I'm hoping this isn't too destroyed by the loudness wars, but at any rate, if it is, it's a placeholder until I can get a better version of it. And then this is sort of 90s era Bob, 80s to 90s, early 90s I think, 92, this particular one. So this is Good As I've Been to You. Yeah, really happy to find both of those 2 Bob Dylan albums that I didn't own. Next one I'm really happy with as well, because it's just one of my favourite voices is Roy Orbison. I think he's just got such a unique and interesting vocal sound to him, and he's always interesting in everything he does. Our love song, this album is called, and it is 1989. And yeah, really pleased to have that. Slowly building up me Roy Orbison, and delighted to add that one to it. Okay, so a bit of John Coltrane next. Yeah, Mr. Saxophone himself. I am again building up my collection. Didn't have this one. This is Impressions. Sort of same year as that Bob one, I think this came out, 1992, or at least the print did. Obviously the original music was a long time before that, but the CD came out in 1992, so it should be a relatively good recording from those time periods, I think. So we now have Tracy Nelson, Mother Earth, and I picked this up solely because I thought the cover looked interesting. I don't know anything about Tracy Nelson at all. I hadn't heard of her or this album, but I thought just the way the cover was shot, that is actually a photograph, but doesn't it look like an old master or something, some old like Dutch sort of painting from the 17th century. I thought it was really nicely done, and deserved £1 of my hard-earned to pick it up and discover what's behind the photograph. Next up, Bon Jovi crush. I mean, you know, but I'm not the biggest Bon Jovi fan in the world. You know, early Bon Jovi. I think the bigger the hair that Bon Jovi had, the better he was, and you can see by this one. See how the hair's got a bit shorter, and the shorter Bon Jovi's hair got, the less interesting he was. Nevertheless, it was £1, and I kind of picked this up because I've been to about 2 charity or 3 charity shops where there was nothing in them at all. Got to the first one, was desperate, picked this up because I'd only found like a couple of other things, and thought, you know, if I'm paying by card and it's only like £3, £2, they're not going to get very much off it, so I kind of padded it out a little bit with some Bon Jovi. But this is like late era John Bon Jovi, yeah, year 2000, you know, whatever. There we go. At least it was £1 for charity shop, if nothing else. Next up, I actually found, and I'll see if I can collect them all together, 3 Chieftains CDs, which I'm kind of pleased with because I don't know much about them, but I do know what caught my eye to them in the first place was this one. This was the first one I found. and don't know if you can read on the top there, but it's got like Mick Jagger, Sting, Van Morrison, Sinead O'Connor are all sort of involved on this. Ry Cooder is on there, Tom Jones, the Rolling Stones separately on one, and then Mick Jagger on his Todd on another one. Mark Knopfler is on a track there, a couple of Ry Cooders actually. Marianne Faithfull is on there, so all sorts of things on there from that Chieftains thing. So I thought, well, that's interesting to pick it up, and I did. And then a little bit along in the stack, I found 2 more Chieftains albums. Down the Old Plank Road, the Nashville Sessions, which is early 2000s, I believe, early mid-noughties, something like that, 2002, and then a little bit of an earlier one, 1996. This one here, if I can get this. I've got a new studio light, which is hopefully making all the light look lovely and smooth, but it's a nightmare holding shiny reflective jewel cases up to it. So that's what this is. But this one is called Santiago. So yeah, really pleased to get those. Next up, got a bit of Tori Amos. So happy to find that. I didn't have this album. It's from the Choir Girl Hotel, and it came out, I suppose in the late 90s, didn't it? It's a tiny red text on black backgrounds, and I haven't got my specs on. But it may say 1998. Your mileage may vary depending on how much you paid your optician recently. But anyway, happily, I love Tori Amos's voice, and she's had some really good songs over the years, hasn't she? So next up, I finally got a bit of Status Quo in my collection, which I'm delighted about. And it's got the everything's on it. It's like 2 discs worth of a Quo on there, so it's got like Rocking All Over the World and Down and all that stuff on it. Who doesn't have a bit of Quo? I've been meaning to get some for ages. 2 discs for £1. 41 in total, I think it was. 41 Status Quo tracks for a English nugget. You cannot argue with the economics of that. This one was a pleasing find as well. A bit of Shaking Stevens, Good Rockin' Tonight. Came out in the 80s, I suppose. It's got a sticker still over, some of the information on the back. I was particularly pleased with it because I liked Shaking Stevens, and I hadn't got any of his stuff. And what I normally do when I've been to the charity shops is I sit and I get a cup of tea afterwards, and I scan all these things into Discogs. And normally, they come up and they're worth, less than the £1 I paid for them. But this particular one seemed to be the average price on there was about £16 or £17, and so I was quite pleased with that. For a £1. But I'm not buying these to flip or to sell or anything like that. They're for me because I like to have them and own them and play them. But at any rate, it's nice to know occasionally you've made some sort of investment. You can lie to yourself and carry on buying music. And then the last CD is Donovan Josie. I've only got a best of Donovan, so it's nice to get that as well. So that's the CDs. I found a couple of LPs, and I found a handful of 7-inch vinyls as well. So we have got in the 7-inch Freddie Mercury, In My Defence, for 50p. Very happy with that. This one, which I don't know anything about, Zodiac Mind Warp and the Love Reaction Prime Mover. I mean, I have no idea about that at all, but like 50p to find out. Seemed like a decent price to pay. Bit of Seal here as well. So we've got Keller on the Loose on that one. So yeah, really pleased with that. And Trevor Horn as the producer. And a bit of House Martins. Happy Hour. I like the House Martins. They were sort of good indie band in their own right. But obviously the individual members all went on to do other things. So Norman Cook, when he grew up, he grew up to be Fatboy Slim, didn't he? And then Paul Heaton, when he grew up to be Paul Heaton out of Beautiful South. So they all went on to do other things after the House Martins. So talented bunch in that. Those of you that watched the last video I did in this series will know that I picked up another Gilbert O'Sullivan. This one is I'm a Writer, Not a Fighter. And I was happy with that for £1.50. Although it amused me that it had like the original sticker when it was like reduced to £1.99, whatever year that was. 1970 something, and 40 years later it's gone from £1.99 to £1.50. So I thought that's pretty hilarious. And then finally, found The Sound of Bread for £1.50 as well. Their finest 20 songs. Yeah, really pleased to get that. for £1.50. So yeah, that was it. That was my charity haul. Let me know down in the comments what have been your latest finds out there in the wild, crate digging, going through charity shops, op shops, thrift stores, whatever you call them in your neighbourhood, part of the world. As always, thanks for watching. Give us a like and a subscribe and all that sort of stuff if you want to see more of this kind of musically oriented shenanigans. See you next time. Cheers.